So this evening, we have Donna Walsh Warren. She's a member of the Delray Art League, and, oh, you're not?
They went out of business.
Well, that's true,
Yeah.
yeah, but you're in the community, the Delray art community, I guess we can say.
Yes.
So, does it still apply to the Cultural Arts Center?
Yes.
Okay, in Delray Beach. She's also the co-founder of the Plein Air Palm Beach, which I do get their emails all the time. Got one today.
Yes.
So we will hear about her great journey, but I love this quote that I believe came off of your website. I love beauty and I love to be surrounded by beauty. Watercolor was a way to fulfill these goals. And I think that's very true for many of us. All right, so thank you.
You need a chair?
I got one here,
Okay.
in case I get tired. Which happens. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm very pleased to be here at the Briny Breezes Art League. Is that the name of the group, the Art League? I think I was at one of your shows a few years back. It was in Community Center, I think.
Yes.
So that's where I went when I came here. I was like, oh, it must be here. But anyway, then they showed me to the art center, which I think is very cool that you have a little art center to make your art. So that's great. So when Camille asked me to speak, I said, well, what do you want? I do a lot of different things. You want plein air? You want, journaling? What do you want? She goes, well, just tell about your journey as an artist. I thought, wow. Ooh. I really had to think about it, because I've been doing it for a while, but when you look back, you start to see things that you didn't see before. So this is this first slide shows you the picture. It's just my title slide, but it says this picture of Georgia O'Keeffe's poppies, and I put that in there because part of my journey, which you'll see, was collecting art. And when I couldn't afford original art, even community-based original art, I bought posters, and Georgia O'Keeffe's was one of them. And I still have that up in my studio in Vermont. So I spend my time between Delray and Barton, Vermont, and I tend to paint plein air and landscapes and nature mostly. And I realized when I was getting this talk together that those have come together over the years in a sort of interesting way. Oh no. Let's try this.
Oh,
Technical difficulty. You wouldn't believe it, I came here yesterday to set this up.
Yeah. All right.
Is it a PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me?
Well, you were looking before. Oh, there we go. What can I touch it? I think it was funny and it worked.
It really?
Yeah. So this is
Really?
This is my first public art. That's me on the left. I was in second grade, and they asked people who could draw, I guess, to paint in the window of the downtown store. So the thing that I remember about it, I don't remember being in the window or anything. I remember that we could have as much paper as we wanted. And that as soon as we're done, we'd rip off a paper and then start drawing some more. So that's what I always tell people. This was my earliest public art. I was about 8 years old. I did a lot of other stuff later on because I could draw. So they used to recruit me, and I was very organized. So I used to run all these things like painting the store windows in 7th grade, stuff like that. But anyway, that's another story. Zoom.
yeah, boy.
I did, but it's extended.
I can push the button.
I did it to see if it works. All right, so here's the overview of what my journey is. I always tell people art was my first love, but science swept me off my feet. I used to draw and draw and draw and do all this kind of stuff. And then I took biology in junior high. That was it. I became a biologist after that. But my love of nature never went away. I started drawing. And I was telling somebody earlier that people used to think I took a lot of notes when I was in school, but I was doodling in the margins all the time. And even when I worked in a hospital, and even when then I used to take the data and present it so that it would be easy to view. So they've always been integrated for me, but I took a hiatus for many years when I was running a chemistry lab in Boston, so at a Harvard hospital. John would like it if I didn't say that it was a Harvard hospital. Yeah. Oh, let's go back. Never mind.
I don't know how.
Don't worry about it. See if it goes up. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Yeah, okay. So these are the powerful things. Once I got back into art, I mean, I took that hiatus for science, but then once I got back into art and doing it, I was still at a sort of second grade level in terms of my ability. So I started focusing on the science of art because I was totally intrigued by that. You'll see that in a minute. But then my next phase was creating art, and I'll show you some of that. Another phase, collecting art. I forgot collecting art. One of the things I realized that I loved art, even if I couldn't do it, I wanted to collect it. And that's how I started with the Georgia O'Keeffe thing. I'm going to show you some of the stuff I collected. John and I have collected, actually. And that's a phase of creativity. Collecting is a creative process. Then I started creating it. Another phase was my travel and teaching art. I ended up teaching art on cruise ships because I wanted to travel, and so it was great. And then I got into plein air painting, which was kind of a natural for doing painting outside and landscapes and stuff like that. And then I was a gallerist for a while. I had a gallery down in the Marina District of Delray, where I was doing contemporary realism, but I still have it's called Art Evolution Gallery. I still have it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I have an online portion of it. I don't have a brick and mortar portion anymore, but that informed my art journey as well. And then finally, now I'm nature journaling, because as I got older and got more arthritis, I couldn't lug all the stuff out with me for plein air, and even doing stuff in the studio was hard. But little nature journals, which I put over there, really easy. You know what I mean? So it gives you such a great feeling to commune with nature. I call it a spa for the soul. Okay, here's the science stuff. Don't really bother with this, but basically this is how your eye sees light. I became totally fascinated with the way vision works and the way the cognitive parts of vision work. And then these illusions, like if you look at this illusion, that's the same value. That's the same value on both sides. And that really can inform the way you, as you probably have heard if you've been studying art at all, that value does all the work and color takes all the credit. Values are really, really important. And then there's, of course, the color wheel, and then the Fibonacci sequence, which is about focal points and stuff like that. So that's just a brief overview of my deep dive. That's the high level of my deep dive into science. This is the neurobiology. This is another way big overview. But basically what it says is your eye gets light, and then your brain does all this work. And that's what you perceive as what you see. And when your eye starts to change, it's really amazing. Because now I've got these two eyes that are different. And so it's kind of weird just to know that my brain is processing that and making me see one image nonetheless. This is the last of the science one. I put these two things together of the history of art and the history of science to see where they overlapped. You can look these up on Google if you want. But I became sort of fascinated with things like the Dark Ages, which is when a lot of the information about vision was discovered because other people weren't doing it. And things like that, and and the way color got discovered, and the way Newton's laws started to help people process art and things like that. Most people don't care; they just want to know if it's a good picture. But I was kind of really a nerd on this. I was an art nerd, so this is just one of the things that I dragged up. Okay, now we're going to get into collecting art. I know you're going to have a show, and I know you're hoping that people are going to buy your art, but you got to tell them, buy what you love, and hopefully from a local artist. Hopefully you can connect with them and see what they saw, and it resonates. But I will tell you that it's a creative process. When you're a collector, you have to read and study and figure out what you like and everything. And then it becomes a part of your life. So, okay, this is what I always say. This is my quote. Tell me what you collect and I'll tell you what you're about. So I'm going to show you some of our art collection that we have. That's not my artwork, but our other artwork. This is the first original piece of artwork. I was working professionally, and I went on a trip to New Orleans, and I went into one of the galleries, and I liked this, and I bought it. I didn't follow my own advice of knowing the artist. I didn't know who the artist was, but I was in that mindset of you just have to buy art. That's the way to do it. I wouldn't advise that. Now I love the painting. I still have it. It's a lithograph actually. This painting is from John's father. There's 4 little paintings that were Dutch, I believe, John. The paintings from your father were Dutch. Do you remember? We don't know where they came from. They might have been stolen from the Nazis might have stolen them. But they survived his father's travels, and John ended up with them, and they survived the fire. You can sort of see that they were, I tried to recondition them. I had to learn about conserving art and that. But this is like, we collected this because it was part of his family and part of history and stuff like that. So this one was a cultural exchange. It's a charcoal drawing. It's called the play. It was a play. It was called "You Strike the Woman, You Strike the Rock," and it was about apartheid in South Africa. And they were on the bus going to visit their husband, and they had to silence a child that was crying. That's what they're doing there. But anyway, this Jamaican troupe came up and to Brighton when I lived in Boston. And then I was just a project manager kind of stuff. I didn't do any acting. But they went down to Jamaica and did a cultural exchange. So one of the ways they funded their trip was to sell these paintings. So I bought one. And it resonates with who I am because I cared about the plight of the people who were feeling that. Now this one is from John's China travels. When he was in China, he had two scrolls made that were sayings, that were his favorite sayings. But the Chinese art master who did it was so excited that he wanted to do what he called a real masterpiece. And that's what this one is. That's when somebody studying this calligraphy and Chinese art has to use all of the steps together in one painting or one presentation to pass their thing. So he did that just for John because he bought his other scrolls from him, which were he called them sort of regular scrolls. They were just like sayings. But anyway, so this is very dear to us. It's about the travels that we've had, either one of us, and it's meaningful that someone had a masterful approach and wanted to share that. These are some of my Vermont paintings. This is from a very local artist in Vermont, and this is a photograph of one of our friends took. There's a place up there that's the historic museum, and that's a painting from that. So he gave us, a photograph of that. So he gave us that. So this is a painting from my friend Sheila Wolf. She's an artist in Boca Raton, a very, very fine artist. And she wanted me to have this painting because I was into wine at the time. I was like collecting wine and tasting wine and all that stuff. She says, "You need this painting." So I said, okay. So that's hanging up in our Vermont home. And this is my neighbor up in Vermont, she's a photographer. So those trees, when we come out of our house, I always see those trees, so I like this photograph. But again, it's local. To me, the connection of local is what really matters. Oh, and this is a travels. This is when we went up to Alaska. I always buy local artisan art if I can. And that was one of them from an Alaska Native artist. And this is my friend Ann Young. She's a pretty good photographer. She's an excellent portraiture artist. And I can't afford her art, but we had a little exhibit up there called the 6x6, where artists contribute a 6x6 painting and we sell them for $35 for our local art group. And I thought, my chance to get an Ann Young. So this is one of her paintings. Okay, now that was it for collecting art. I just wanted you to see how it kind of reflects who we are and our values and everything. I could have shown you more stuff, but basically what I realized when I was getting this talk together, and also when I was doing the gallery, that you are what you collect. So they say you are what you eat, but you are what you collect. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be art. I mean, it could be, whatever. People collect all kinds of things, jewelry or stamps or whatever, but they have a passion for it. And so it's connecting that passion, the collector with the item. And art is special in that regard because you're making a connection to some scene or some emotion or feeling or something. And then when someone gets it, that's a real high. You got it in there. When somebody looks at your painting and says, "Oh, I get it," that's a real high. And hopefully they buy it and they want to live with it. That's how much they like it. So this was my first painting. Not first painting, but I took a class. And this painting was special. It's only a tiny little painting. It's 5x7. And one of my friends decided she wanted to buy it. So, oh, wow, this is your first painting in a class. And then I won an award for it, too. And this is the cream on the cake, It was like, when I was there, somebody at school called me. This was at Old School Square at the time. And they said, "We have someone who wants to buy your painting." I got to say, "It's already sold." That's the only time I got to say that. But it was precious. Anyway, so that's Loxahatchee at Sunset. This was my real first painting. After taking the class, I said to my instructor, "What should I paint?" And he said, "Paint something that's meaningful to you." So my aunt had this little cottage, and she was downsizing. She was selling her house. She was going to break down the cottage and take the money from both of those and build a place on the beach. So the cottage was going to be no more. So I wanted to give her a painting of the cottage. Now, granted, I kind of jazzed it up. It wasn't right on the water. You know what I mean? There was a lot of houses right next to it and everything. But I gave it to her. She loved it. And she died a few years later. There was a fight over this. Everybody wanted it, so my cousin, her daughter, gave it back to me. It's now hanging in our house. But it's a reminder of painting what you love or what's meaningful to you, so that you can. And it's not really a great painting. Look at it. It's not that great. But it was great to my aunt. She loved it because she didn't have that cottage anymore. But she had it hanging over her little fireplace there in Connecticut on the beach. These are just some that I painted more recently. I'll show you some that are in shows right now. This one was in Vermont. It's called the Willoughby Gap. That's in Vermont. That one sold. These are some that have sold. That one didn't sell. But when I did an exhibit, I ran an exhibit called Delray on Canvas, where we painted in 3 historic districts in Delray. This is the Spady Museum, if you're not familiar with it. It's a Black History Museum in Delray. And so painted that. This is my little Northern Lights one. That's sold. These little tiny paintings, 6x6. I painted and put it online. As one of my friends called me up and she said, "I want that." I said, "Really?" She said, yeah. I said, "Okay." And the same thing with that one. I was going to be in the gallery. I painted that's at Delray Beach. and I painted that just for fun. And when I had the gallery, there was a hole in the wall. Not a hole, but a space, and I said, oh, I'm gonna turn one of those little paintings over just to stick it in there. And I'm walking up to the gallery one day, and this guy comes up and he says, oh, I said, what are you doing here? And he said, I came to buy your painting. I said, really? So, I just put it in there to take up space, and he bought it. So, that's a thrill. It's like, that's all I can say. And this is my sort of social justice art. This was when the children were separated from their parents, and that one is called "Where's My Mommy?" So I did that. That's kind of, I had that up in Vermont for a while, and the woman who ran it was a physical therapy place, and she said, "That painting." I said, "What painting?" She goes, "The eye." I said, "Okay, I know which one you're talking about." And this one was recently this year. A friend of mine from Delray, she posted this picture of her son, who's now in college, but she posted a picture of him fishing. And she said, I can't get this kid up for anything, but he'll get up in the morning for fishing. So she posted a picture of him fishing. And I said, can I do a painting of that? And the next thing was, she said, oh yes, and then I showed, she was, oh, I'm so thrilled, can I buy it? So I always give what I call the friends discount. I discount them deeply for friends, because I'd rather have the people have my painting, than me just stashing it like these, So that one's, that's her son. And she bought it for him. The funny story of this was that after he was going to college, he's going to school in Orlando, they wanted, his parents wanted them to leave, why don't you leave the painting at home? Because, you might lose it in school. No. He says, I want to be remembering my fishing days and all that stuff. So he took the painting with him. So I love paintings that have a story that go with them. This painting was from, every year I've been painting, not every year, this last year and this year, with the Delray Concourse event. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's, there's a lot of these car events. I don't know anything about car events, but I'm learning fast. And the one that they do with Delray is unique in that it's open and it's a family event. The people that pay for it are the cars, because they I put all the journals over here if you want to see them. So this one, this is Delray Beach Historical Society down there in the garden. They have they call it Heritage Garden. It's got all native plants in it. And then this was at Paradise Palms. So I can get different angles. I put the journals over there if you want to look at them. And then this is, when we were in Honduras, the guy kept saying, it's unbelievable. So that's what I call it. So I would, for travel journals, I would put like a little picture of the island, whatever it was. And this one had a picture of the boat. And this is where we went to the Atun temples. So I did a little picture of that. And then, it's not about how good the art, how good the drawing is. It's really about connecting your memories to the place and everything. So that was it. I like this picture because it reminds me of, this is kind of an AI thing. This is where we're at these days. But the lady in the pearl earring and Van Gogh are sitting there talking just like we are. So if you have any questions or anything, these are the ways you can find me. My email, and I have 2 websites. My website with all my artwork is DonnaWalsh.com, and one with the contemporary realism is Art Evolution Gallery. I'm now on Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram, and YouTube. This will hopefully be on YouTube when we piece it together, most of it. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I work mostly water media, both watercolor and acrylic. And then I won some paints and oils, so now I have to do oils. So that, yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask.
What medium?
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly watercolor, and I started with watercolor, and then I moved to acrylic. I started with acrylic, but I was messing up my brushes so much that I decided watercolor was much more friendly to, it's harder to do, because it's not forgiving, but it's friendlier toward your supplies, because you can wash them. Yeah.
couple of your pictures, you had amazing detail, the glacier,
Yeah,
and then over here on the side of things laying down.
yeah, some of those
A
are,
facade of about 6 different buildings all at once.
yeah, those are studio paintings. You know, they're not, I mean, I used them from a photo reference and I painted them from a photo
And those are
reference.
10-hour paintings.
Well, just like when I was teaching, I gave them the line drawings, I do the same thing. I take a picture that I really like and I print it out, you know, I manipulate it in Photoshop and make a line through it so I can, you know, make it dark and light. And then I draw it. And once I draw the outline, you know, it's pretty easy to paint, just take your time. And the more detailed it is, the more time it takes me to paint it. So the more fun I can have painting it. I tend to be really quick most of the time. And, you know, and it's not always good. And I realized that some of my paintings, when I thought they were done, they were really just at the underpainting stage. And I should have gone back and really put in a lot more detail. But that's part of the process, you know what I mean? So,
And you love the process.
I do, I love the process. Anything else? Like I said, it was a real pleasure to be here. So I want to thank you for inviting me. I wish you very luck in your exhibit, your show that you have in a couple of weeks. April 15th? March 15th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely come on back.
I will, thank you. I will, if I can.